Oh, what is this? Who is this? Could it be that I can make enemy classes now? Yep. Hello. And greetings. I am the guy walking on a top-down roguelike shooter set in a horror-adjacent fantasy setting. I am doing it solo, handling both visual and mechanical aspects of the game. Follow me as I document these video checkpoints of my progress on the project Pistolhand. Name pending. Alright, I have a walking, living enemy unit on my hands. It walks, it follows the player, it attacks, and it dies. What the game needs now is some variation. Melee and ranged enemies, stationary and moving, enemies with unconventional attacks or other abilities. I can't predict every type of enemy I'll want in the future, but what I can do is come up with a basic set that covers most of my needs, and then go on from there. One melee dummy, one ranged dummy, one dummy that has more than one move, one dummy with a continuous spinning attack. Yeah, that would be enough for starters. First thing first, make some visually distinct dummy variants. To not go too much overboard, I only change the helmets and shields. One brighter variant with a pot for a head, one darker with a large bowl, one with a conical bucket. Give them different materials, don't spend too much time here. If you let go of any standards, results come surprisingly cheap and fast. I pack all of these bastards into one FBX file because they all share one amateur anyway. I don't think it's a common practice because it looks messy in the hierarchy, but blah, I don't give a rat's ass. Not yet I don't. These assholes will also need some items / weapons. A mace, a shield, a throwing sack for a projectile, a broom for a spear. I've got a theme going on here, like a pantry storage came to life or whatever. I'ma stick to it for placeholder purposes, but who knows, maybe these fellas will become tutorial enemies later in the full game. I'm using some time-saving tricks on some textures to battle some of the more egregious stretchings. Naturally, I will need some more animations for these extra enemy types. I will also be adjusting / reworking some of the old ones. Add some intermediaries, like this stopping animation that can work as a transition in a lot of places. I wanna draw your attention to the fact that all these animations are made in place now, meaning I will not be adding inherent movement into these, because I'm not going to be using animation data to move my characters, as I've thought to do in the previous video. Instead, when I'm going to create attacks for my enemy dummies, I will use animation curves to drive the movement. It's this little thing that I can sample at runtime and give my character a predetermined, flowy movement with speed ups and slowdowns wherever I want. It's not going to be as precise and organic as baking movement data directly into an animation, but come on. I ain't gotta split hairs on this hill. NASA. Animation curves are a godsend. Also, don't fucking underestimate the power of normalization. 0 to 1 distance, 0 to 1 duration. This time, when I need to scale these, I know that I will be scaling them by the specified modifier. This should be self-explanatory, but this dumbass was not in the self-explained club. These animators become a bit too complex for my liking, and I'll have to duplicate and rework them for each enemy variant. That doesn't seem right. This is where animator overrides come in, a must-have feature that Unity could easily not have, but it does. A pleasant surprise. What they do is allow overriding any animations in the animator controller with other ones which you'll want on your new character. So you are reusing the structure and the transitions of the base animator, but you are replacing individual animations with whatever you need. This will drastically improve modularity and decrease the manual duplication replacement time. Now for the main event, for the big one. To explain my troubles with making different classes of enemies, I have to talk about this thing called state machine for a bit. Bear with me. Think of a state machine as a gearbox that controls the character's behavior. Or maybe not a gearbox, but that speed lever thingy with words that ships have. Your character is just standing there not doing anything. Punch the idle gear in. It saw its target and goes off to chase someone. Pursuit gear. Initiating an attack, attack gear. Losing all of its health, death gear. Name of your metal band. It is a common practice in game design to separate character logic into these states so that a character can do one thing at a time and not cross-reference data from all other states every frame. Well, anyway, up to this point I've made my player a very straightforward state machine that's built directly into his main script. I've done the same for the enemies. Here's the issue though. My dummy's attack state makes it punch the player. It's a short-range quick attack with a small cooldown that requires the dummy to get close to the player. But for a ranged dummy, I need another kind of an attack. So what, do I rewrite the whole enemy script anew for each enemy type? It doesn't sound unreasonable until you realize that if you ever want to go back and change how your enemies behave, like add another function here and there, or change a parameter, you have to multiply that change by the number of enemies you've created up to this point. That is madness. Madness. That's a potentially endless amount of adjustments. You cannot do that. That is not how you make video games. You could do something with class inheritance, but there are still too many things you have to figure out in advance, which is impossible. And there will be a lot of code duplication and rewriting, which is suboptimal. Yada yada blah blah. What I need to do instead is take states out of the character script, turn them into modular pieces and swap them around depending on the enemy needs. This is no trivial matter. I had to completely and utterly rewrite and restructure the entire controller, organize and optimize everything I've done enemy-wise several times. I've heavily referenced approaches like oh and oh because, oh boy, I had no clue what I was doing. It still isn't perfect, like, it doesn't really make sense in my head. For example, I have a ranged pursuit state that makes the dummy stop at a distance from the player before shooting. I can have several variants of this state with the same code and slightly different parameters. I can plug in and swap these variants fine, but if for one enemy class I wanna make a change and, let's say, shorten the shooting distance, I cannot override this distance parameter for this enemy straight away. I have to create another instance of this state SO with the required distance and then plug it in. So the system is somewhat rigid, which I do not like. Workarounds would require dropping other useful features that come with a SO approach. So I'm picking my poison at this point. The scary thing is, I will most likely have to do the same with the main character, because I want him to have different interchangeable abilities at some point. Alright, modular states are ready. Enemies can have different behaviors, different abilities, which all hook up to the central enemy brain to move the enemy around and control its animations and stuff. Am I done with these? Hell no. Hell no. Will I have to rewrite or remake these systems all over again in the future? Most likely. I've made my peace with it. The saving grace is that I'm going to limit the number of elements I need for a functional game, so that even if I have to do lots of reworking, at least there's a finite set of things to rework. This set of assholes is probably what I'll be using throughout this series. Well, maybe I'll add just a few more. Here's something I did not expect to get stuck on. Attack effects. How are they made? I need to figure this out now so that I know how to hook them up into abilities and pooling and whatnot, and so on. For roundabout slashes and swings you probably need a custom shape, like an arch or a cylinder, probably a custom shader too. The easiest way is to just make a rotating transparent effect that fades in and out, but it's not a universal solution. I'd need something for pokes and maybe some other effects. Now, how to assemble these attack effects? Well, for one, I can just spawn a mesh and do with it whatever I want through code or through a shader. Second, I can use Shuriken, Unity's inherent particle system. It feels kinda wrong to use it for spawning one attack particle at a time. It's more of a tool for managing lots and lots of similar particles simultaneously. What else do we have? Oh, we have a VFX, a visual effects graph. It's yet another graph system with its own pipeline and quirks. Thankfully, there are some examples and tutorials to get me started. It says VFX graph can handle hundreds of thousands of particles, making it extremely optimized. Unlike Shuriken, you don't scroll through a long list of features enabling or disabling what you want, but instead you build your own list of features bit by bit, adding only what you need. Very cool, very flexible system. I like it. You know what? I can even remake bullets to work on the VFX graph. Yeah, why not? Because the bullet collider is separate from the bullet model. So why don't I just remake the bullet model as a visual effect? I'ma combine the projectile, the trail and the glowy stuff into one visual system. They don't have collisions on them anyway, so wait. Oh no, why is performance so shitty? Why is the trail lagging behind? Why is it squiggly? What the fuck? How is it counting thousands of tries? Where are you getting these? Turns out it doesn't perform too well when you have hundreds of VFX graphs flying around. You should make one VFX system spawn and manage hundreds of projectiles. But you can't do that with a projectile that changes directions, because there is no way for a particle instance to track a moving object. Ah, shit. Well, that's not entirely true. There are workarounds. I can use VFX just fine for single fire attacks or explosions. One VFX manager would spawn these particles at specified positions, but I cannot use it for attacks like these, which must stay with the object as it moves. So I need some other solution. Or do I make some attacks as VFX and others as something else? No, that's stupid. Well, maybe I can get away with instance/attack VFX. I presume you won't see hundreds of these going off at the same time. Other pinpoint effects I can offload to global VFX managers. I already have systems in place to deal with this. Yeah, well, I'll just have to see when I get to the beautification part of the game. Now, quickly about minor setbacks that don't really deserve their own videos but have given me much grief. This round of development issues included, but was not limited to, sound pooling issues. I knew that strategy games used some clever techniques to sort, mix and fade hundreds of thousands of sounds of battle, but I honestly thought Unity had some kind of a built-in way to deal with this problem without hassle. It doesn't, and I've stepped on a few rakes as I was figuring this shit out. This is how 200 bullets hit sound without any management. Yikes. This is how the sound went pulled improperly, called away in the wrong order. Fuck, that's much worse. This is how they sound with a properly set up FIFO pooling. FIFO stands for first in, first out. I'm not going to tell you how much time this took me to figure out. Hierarchy reorganization. There are two main ways to sort your assets. I've heard them referred to as by feature and by type. By type is the standard Unity approach. Here are all your materials, here are all your textures, here are all your models, blah 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 blah. The infuriating downside of this approach is that if you're assembling some entity which consists of models, materials, scripts and prefabs, you have to go on a treasure hunt across your entire folder structure, or get comfortable typing the names of required assets in the search field. I don't like this shit, I don't like it one bit. The other approach, by feature, means that if you have a certain thing, you keep all of its related assets in the thing folder. I find this massively superior to the other approach. It is less structured though, a bit messier, but that's life. It's a shit sandwich and we all have to pick the side which we bite. Alright, so to summarize, enemy logic and code is something I will probably keep adjusting for quite a while. I need to bring all of the attacks and bullets under one hood, maybe do something with inheritance. In the meantime, I need to move on.
Don't let the dragon drag on, man.
My character needs a lot of reworking too. Right now he runs on spit and glue, and that's no good at all. Before I jump into progression managers and enemy wave spawners, I think I'll finish up my character system. Right now only the gun part is present. I also need a health module, a dodge module, and a tool module, or like ability module, something like that. This will tie into expanding the bar logic and rewriting the player's state machine, something I've just been doing for my enemies. Wait, oh no, I need to make this modular too. Oh shit. Ah hell, it has been too long. My idea was to release a video after the next stage of development is complete, but maybe I'll have to reconsider. I thought I could separate my development into these neat, discrete, understandable and satisfying segments, like shooting, enemies, classes. It worked for a while, but during the last, 6 months? I've been bouncing between mechanics with almost no progress in any particular one, but with a decent progress across the board. Maybe the next video should be more of a kitchen sink situation? There's a lot of stuff to talk about. Technical stuff. Maybe I should embrace the messiness and dish out shorter, more chaotic videos, but on a more regular basis? What do you think? Leave a comment berating my inconsistent upload schedule. I will probably read it. Until next time. What do you mean I can't use closures? What am I supposed to do without fucking closures?